Alright, y'all, so today I want to talk about national door locks, which thankfully are not in existence anymore. You will only ever run across these on a house, typically 70s, 80s style house, pretty popular then. And it was a push button lock. When you turn it, it unlocks. Push in, lock. They were actually kind of nice locks. Unusual design, and really this is not to talk about anything other than the difficulties that you might encounter. It's a regular door lock. You could probably, most of you guys who watch can probably figure out how to take one of these apart yourself. It's self-explanatory. You do have to have a key to turn it, because when you walk up to the door and you go and you see this retainer on the edge, you think, hey, yay, but it has to be turned. The key has to be turned, or the plug has to be turned, which means if you have no key, you have to pick it. Now, if this lock is not used all the time, it's going to be seized up. If you don't have other locks on the house that match it, it might be better to go ahead and sell a new lock. But if it's in pristine condition like this one, and they have a key and they've been using a key, it's just a matter of taking it apart. So I'm kind of going to show you the issues that you might run into, because it is, again, unusual compared to other key and knob style locks. So to begin with, you discover that you can't get it off. You could, again, if you have the key, you may not have to mess with anything. You could just turn the key, press the retainer, and pull the knob off, and we will see it is unusual there. But to get there, if you have to take the doorknob completely off the door for some reason, you would go to your interior retainer and push it in. Oh, I'm sorry about that, camera. And poor camera better focus for me today. It uses a really kind of wild looking rosette interior. A lot of waves on that sucker, huh? But anyway, there is a notch that is open. The other side is crimped. Sometimes you'll run across the issues of these not staying on because they've been, put on incorrectly, or whatever the case is. You may have to rebend it, because that bend does need to kind of snap into this, which would be up against the interior wall. But once you pop that plate off, you will see it uses what I would now refer to as the greatest wiser fail ever. But these, you can unscrew the screw just a bit, just enough for this plate to get a little loose, and then turn and lift that plate off. You could take the screws all the way out, but this is designed to be a quick switch out. One thing I just thought about this, I'm glad it did that. Every so often when you're taking your plate off here, sometimes you can yank it over that, but you may have to press down on that retainer again to get the plate to slip all the way off. Likewise, going back on, you may have to press it in. All right, so then you go and you go like, okay, I can get it out now. And then you go and you yank it. It's not coming out. You can't get it off the door. Don't know why. Unlock it. Still not coming out. So the trick on this is a push style. When you turn this, it pushes that mechanism in right there, which in turn retracts the latch. So you may get lucky and yank it off the door, and this is why, because when you're pushing it in, basically you're allowing it to slide off of those two rails. So while you can't do it here, even if you push in, you think it's like a quick set, you just push in here, still doesn't come off. What the deal is you push in here, it doesn't affect that inner piece, but when you push in or when you turn, then it allows that to come off. So when you're trying to put it back on, you're like, how do I get that back on? You could push really hard, but that's kind of a double spring. It'll make it a lot easier if you hold this in and then push. While it's still spring loaded, it's not nearly as difficult as without. So push in and hold, push up against the body. Of course, you're going to be on the inside looking in, so this is going to be kind of hard to do. And then slide it on, and through the inner hole, verify that your 2 bars did indeed go into those 2 notches. Otherwise, it will not operate correctly. So again, push in, turn your knob, and then slip it out. Oh. You could do it without pushing in, and you may get lucky while you're yanking and turning the knob to try to get it off. You may get lucky and turn and pull at the same time and get it off, but it's safer for the latch and everything to push in, hold, and then turn. Lets off additional pressure of the spring. All right, once you get it off, you take it out and we have to rekey it. So again, if you don't have the keys for it, you have to pick the lock. And as we see, once we get in here, it is a small plug. This is one of the smaller things. This is one of the 395 or whatever tension plug follower was pretty much designed for, because we will see that none of ours work. And I'll show you a trick to that if you have one of these tools. Of course, you could always get a bolt that size, cut it off, and you have a custom plug follower. If you run across these all the time, you know there's absolutely no reason for you to be watching what I'm doing, because you know. But I do appreciate you watching anyway. You're sitting there thinking, that's wrong. That's a little bit off. That information's not quite correct. Well, whatever. You know. I put a warning up in one of my videos a while back about this is not I should go find that and recopy it and put it in every one of my vids. If you've ever watched any of my videos, you may have noticed a flashed message that only lasts a second or two. Yes, I do that on purpose. Oh, there we go. So when you turn the key, it would pop out the inside. Anticlimactic there. I didn't hear anything pop out. Once your key is turned, then that retainer pushes in and slides off just as you would expect it to. Again, no big surprise there, but big surprise when you pull it off. What the hell is that? That is the core. So you want to be very careful with this, because if that thing falls into the knob sideways, oh my God, it's hella hard to get it out sometimes. So you want to kind of be very cautious with that. Make sure you hold it from both ends while you're pushing it out. And this reminds you of what? Oh, a Schlage knob, except it's not a collapsible. It is not a collapsible cylinder, but it is very reminiscent of our new. Look at that! I almost lost the plug in there. Good luck if you lose the plug. It helps to have a screwdriver and you can like maneuver it around, but you can actually spend 5-10 minutes just trying to get this sideways out of the knob. It's horrible. So again, we got that off. So then we say, ooh, wow, that is a little bit different, and it's plastic. We all know how Jason feels about plastic. So if this hadn't been off in a while, you need a pin punch to punch that out. And you look, you're like, oh, damn, I gotta go find a pin punch for this now. And I just went and looked for my pin punch, and I don't, come on, focus. Yeah, it's a little too big. I got one with a sharp point here. Let me just shove in here. If you're lucky, and this is a well-maintained lock, you can get it to come out enough to, don't want to unpick it. You know, like this one, obviously it flares out. I'm going to try my screwdriver. I've got a screwdriver that died and made it into kind of a small screwdriver pucker. This is almost what stabbed me in that other video. This is actually the right size. So I'm going to go ahead and push it out. Everybody's waiting like, no, don't stab yourself. Well, it would take a lot to do that. So you get it out enough, and I don't have one here. I don't know why I didn't grab it, but grab a pair of pliers. Anything, once you get it out enough. So this is going to be your biggest issue, is this little pin, especially, like I said, if the lock has not come off the door. Now remember, we are in the picked position, so the plug is sideways. When it is not in the picked position, the plug is sideways, which is why that retainer wouldn't push in on the inside, because it's blocking it from pushing in. That plastic, when you press the retainer, it's pushing in on this. So when you turn the key and it turns that, it gives you the gap to push that retainer in case you didn't know. Once I get that pin out, it is simply a cap. So the one thing about this is it does have a correct side. That is the up and this is the down. That is in line with the plug. Remember that when you're putting it back together, because if you do it like so, guess what? That won't, it won't go back in the cylinder, I don't think. I recall it don't work. So that has to be in line with the plug. All right, so then, like I mentioned earlier, we grab our 495 follower, and we're like, oh man. So then we go grab, I found this is 30 seconds. I don't know what that equals. So I'm gonna try to run it through, and it's a little bit too big. I wanna say the 395 follower, which is the standard small follower, does not fit either. So then you're like, well, shoot, let me get a bolt or anything that will fit. Like this is the same size. This is a Wiser cap removal. However, as many of us know, if we followed that out, the top pins are going to bounce down and or get caught and or be hard to put back together. So if you don't have the correct size thing, this is a perfect follower for this. However, it is smaller. It is the same size as this, but not the same size as the actual core itself. So if I did not have something, if I did not have a follower, I'm just going to use that. I'm just going to go ahead and shim it. Oop, don't use that end. Yep, use that end. And run it through like that. And hope for the best. We always hope for the best. So we're just going to leave that as is. I will take one out because I know some of you like looking at pins. So let's go ahead and move this senior shim out the way. This may be a huge mistake trying to do, because I really wasn't going to focus much on this part of the lock. But we can see it is a pretty standard size top pin. Looks like 165, something like that. But little super baby springs. Super baby springs. You don't want to lose your super baby springs. And that is because this Bible is so short. So short. Put it back in there. Be careful with our shim there. So don't lose those springs, y'all. All right, now I'm going to take a key and we're going to run over here to the pinning kit. Oh, so where's our National? I don't know. Where is our National? We don't have National in a standard 0003 kit, 3000s kit. There is no National there. So you're like, oh my goodness, what do we do there? I cut a key on the National large pen, other large pen standard card, HPC. What I cut was 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And everybody's like, oh my God, descending cuts. Don't do descending cuts. Why don't you do descending cuts, Jason? Because when the points wear off, the key is allowed to pull out in any position. Wouldn't do it immediately, but as soon as that smooths down, you turn it to the unlock position, the key might come out, especially on sloppy locks. That is why you never do a descending cut like that. However, this is just for an example. I want to show you why. I'm going to dump the pins out of the core, and we're going to go up 0, and we think 0 is always going to be, you know, these shallow little pins up here. Ooh. shallow pin. So let's just grab a 156. 156, shortest bottom pin. We're going to put it in at the 0. And we have hit a huge roadblock. Uh-oh. I have keys cut ready to go, and it has a 0 in it, but I don't have pins short enough because 156 is the shortest one that you're going to find in a standard pinning kit. So unless you have a National original pinning kit, which most people, I'm guessing, unless you're old school, you're not going to have a National pinning kit because it's not around anymore. So 0, oh my goodness. Well, let's try 165 and 1 and see what happens. Spoiler alert, it is too tall as well. Oh my goodness. Spoiler alert for depth number 2. I think we can get away with that. What you think, guys? So, looks like 2 is going to have to be your minimum depth. And it still sticks up a little bit. The plug itself has a lot of slop, so we are probably good with that. You know, let's just go ahead and try it just to see what happens. So, number one thing with rekeying is you got to start at 2. It's got to all be deeper than 2. It goes 2 to 9 and 2, 3, 4, whatever. We'll see what 3 is. We'll just put this 156 over in 3. And we can see it probably is the actual one you would want to start with, because 156 is close, sticks up pretty high. So scratch what I just said. This fits better. It's a little low, but should work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 3 all the way across and leave it at 4. 4, once you go to 4, let's try 171, thinking, hey, you know, that's the common size difference on what you do when you're rekeying locks. It's usually 4 or 5 little spots, but we can see it is not. The flats are where they're supposed to be. So it goes from 156 to 165. That's only like 3 spaces, guys. Only like 3 spaces. So let's stop this. Okay, so what I did was lost my plug. What did I do with the plug? I kind of need that to show you what I'm doing here, right? So I cut it 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. You're thinking, oh my God, that's worse than descending cuts. I agree. I know, right? IKR. So 4. It's a little shallow there. Oh, wait, where are we? 4, a little shallow. Let's see what 4. Oh, you know what? 4. I didn't do the 4 pin, did I? So 4, 171. 3, 156. A little shallow. You could probably go. Again, I was just showing shortest pin size, so probably 159 there will work better. And then 4 again, say 171. Oh. And 171 in the last position. Sorry about that. I don't know where I stopped, but my phone was like, your storage is full, so I had to delete a couple of things. So anyway, we had 434343, and you know, this was cut on a HPC card, but it looks like the spacing is off still a little bit. Not sure why that's the case. That is unusual because it is a branded National lock, and it is cut perfectly well, like I was supposed to, but we're just gonna contribute that to the oddballness of the lock. So 434343. Come on, camera. And where was I? And carefully, I'm going to push my shim out a little bit to provide a ledge for it to ramp. There we go. And ramp it on in. Got the ramp over. Let's push it out just a bit more. There we go. And ramp it on in. So, went in, and let's hope it works. Oh, smooth, very smooth. So smooth. All right, 43434. Again, I would definitely start your cuts at 3 for these if you are sitting around, need to cut up keys and have some of these that you need to cut. Never do 0, 1, 2. So we're going to put our cap back on. Again, make sure the little tab is up. Come on, little tab. And not down. It's not that way. You want it that way. And push it through. Got to get in the other hole too, so there it goes. And make sure it is fully seated in the hole, poking out equal distance each way. Remember again, your warning about the doorknob. So what I do is I stick my finger in there. Stick the finger in there. And push it in. And push it like my finger was a follower. Follow it in. Once you get it in, hold it, and then put your key in, and then you're safe. Okay, safe. So remembering which side your door is, if it's handed this way, you go this way. Make sure that you reassemble it correctly. Obviously, the hole for the retainer has to be on the retainer side. Push it in. Push your retainer in. And turn your key whichever way is required to get it to work. All right, so check it. Make sure the key comes out. Make sure the key turns and it pops open. As you're putting it back on the door, remember you're going to be looking through the interior. Push in, push against, pushing that way, push against, slide it through. And as always, make sure your notches grab correctly. And at that point, we'll slide your plate on. There is a uppy and a downy on this plate. This is uppy. This would be downy. You don't want downy, you want uppy. And it says tab and it says out. Oh, my mistake. It says out. Sometimes it does do good to follow directions. This was on incorrectly. So this is out. You want this on the outside. The tab actually would go down. So putting it back on, slip your thing on. You're going to have to push that retainer to get it to go past. Hello, retainer, go past. Oh, thank you. And do your screws in reverse. Snap them into place and tighten them down. Tighten down, tighten down. Guess I get to go home and mess with storage before I'm able to edit anything. So this little notch here, it goes right there. That gap, they leave that gap so that you can use it to pop it up. But you want to be careful doing that. You don't want to scar up your, scar up your rosette or anything. So once you get it snapped fully on, you're almost done. We're almost there. Take your knob, put it on, push your retainer, push your knob on. Make sure the button comes up and it fully snaps. And you are done. Check your key twice. Always check your key twice. 2 to 5 times. Check your outside. Check your inside. Check your latch return. And lastly, check it a couple of times by pulling the key in and out. Collect your bill money and you are done. Thanks for watching, guys. This is the National key and knob. Thank goodness these aren't made anymore. All right, appreciate you guys watching. If you have any comments or questions, hit me up with them in the comment section. Thanks again for watching, guys. See y'all next video.